It's almost comical to me, looking at the cover of Wolfenstein The New Order's box art after watching the credits roll on this adventure. This is a game that surprised me on every level, both literally and metaphorically. Based on entries in the past, we are expecting series regular BJ Blazkowicz to once again blitzkrieg across the European continent, taking on numerous Nazis without so much as a smirk, but what MachineGames Studios has drummed up is so much more. Coming full circle, like the original Wolfenstein 3D which established the genre, the New Order reinvents the FPS all over again, with refreshing shooting mechanics, perfectly paced gameplay, and some of the best writing our medium has ever seen.
A good team. Like father and son.
Of course, in many ways, as we know from Bethesda Studios themselves, war never changes, and unfortunately for the Nazis, BJ Blazkowicz is as brutal and borderline ridiculous looking as ever. After completing the first mission, you're advanced 14 years into a version of the 1960s in which the Germans won the war. It's up to William Blazkowicz to bail his allies from prison and slowly but surely fight back against a dauntingly realized true world power.
This is true of the Nazis. They're not lacking in vanity.
Any developer could have tossed a few swastikas on various landmarks and called it a day, but it's easy to see that MachineGames really had fun and put a lot of thought into how the world and technology would have developed under the eccentric and egotistical tendencies of the Nazi Party. Entire cities have been redesigned, giant statues pervade the landscapes, and there's a film noir-like sense of dread in every corner of their totalitarian structures. And because the war has expanded globally, players visit cities all over the world in various sabotages and sieges for the resistance. You're taken through the hearts of prisons, concentration camps, underwater temples, and even a Nazi-occupied moon base, complete with appropriate gravity and moonwalking ambience. If you so desire, there are collectibles scattered around the world, and clips of news articles that give context to what happened while Blazkowicz was injured, written, often hilariously, in Nazi propaganda form.
July 9th, 1943. The Nazi appears to be made of bacon.
The icing on the cake has to be the hidden records by the game's version of the Beatles, had they been forced to abide by Nazi restrictions in their songs. This kind of creativity in a AAA release has to be commended, and really adds to the immersiveness and weight of the player's actions within the universe.
Merciful Christ! Oh God! Oh God, are you seeing this, Captain?
What did I just do?
With a larger economy, and now almost non-existent military spending, the Nazis have put more funding into technology, and it immediately shows in the weapons you find and the enemies you face. As with any modern shooter, the staple of pistols, shotguns, and snipers abound, but you're also equipped with EMP grenades, laser guns, and rocket launcher-equipped assault rifles. The best part? Weapons can be dual-wielded if you find more than one at the cost of aiming down the sights, but truly open up combat scenarios with strategic firepower or ammo conservation decisions. This easily could have turned into a gimmick, but I actually found myself relying on the extra trigger when I was outnumbered or against some of the larger, more intimidating enemies. When you're going up against giant dogs, giant mechs, and even bigger giant mechs, at least having two pistols is better than one. Luckily, even when you're getting pulverized over and over by bosses, Wolfenstein is an absolute joy to control. While it's been done before, the New Order uses a refined version of leaning controls, allowing you to peek up and out from cover. If you ever wanted to bring home the feeling that playing Time Crisis did in the arcade, this works just as well. Shootouts with soldiers are intense and frantic, with flanking being committed by both parties, and you'll need to think quick on your feet, cowered behind a pillar turning to rubble as the mech pounds away rounds in your direction. It works great, and I really hope other franchises, or at least future entries in the series, adapt this style of play. The New Order feels very original in an old-school kind of way. Blazkowicz relies on health packs to heal, excess protection can be added by finding scraps of armor from enemies in crates, and it even breaks free from the 2-gun limit with a fully accessible weapon wheel. Unfortunately, it's not as precise as it should be, and I found myself switching to the wrong weapon way more often than I'd like. Also, throwing grenades and opening up the wheel are accessed by the same button, which caused some unintended and inaccurate tosses occasionally. Attachments for weapons such as silencers or grenade launchers can be unlocked by progressing through the story, and in some cases, taking out enemies in specific ways. For example, reaching a certain number of stealth kills allows you to sneak faster, or getting a multi-kill with a grenade unlocks a pouch to hold more at a time. This, in conjunction with slightly tweaked plot lines depending on early choices in the story, encourage multiple playthroughs to see everything and outfit BJ to the best of his abilities. For the patient players, there are stealth mechanics for clearing out areas without causing too much chaos, and while they're nowhere near as polished as Far Cry 4's or Dishonored, they're there for those who want it and work well enough to at least attempt before you're spotted and all hell breaks loose. Even with its brilliant setting or shooting mechanics, what really sets this game apart from not only other shooters, but other games entirely is its writing. It reads like a novel in some sections. So many games these days think that writing someone who is battle-hardened makes them a character, but BJ, while certainly a badass, shows consistent depth and development over the course of the game.
And they grieve for their dead. Such raw sorrow. Can't partake. Mine would flood oceans. It would drown me. If I let it out.
Unlike most protagonists, he doesn't quip, he laments, and I was immediately drawn to find out why, having been not as familiar with previous games in the Wolfenstein series. In fact, nearly every character you come in contact with is a joy to interact with, and you're given opportunities if you desire for side missions that tell you more about them as survivors. It is a shame that these couldn't have been implemented into the game more organically, as they're usually generic fetch quests, and while it's initially interesting to explore your hideout, it can get a little mind-numbing after the first or second time. In retrospect, many of these characters are stereotypes. There's the Jimi Hendrix, the defecting German you're not sure you can trust, and a beautiful love interest among others, but I never thought about them within those archetypes while playing, just as people. How often can you say that this is a game that tells a story worth being told?
But let me see. Warning! Blah, 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 blah. Bobby mice, just step inside.
Speaking of archetypes, there have only been a few villains I've disliked more than the New Orders. He's cruel to the very core, and like Blazkowicz, I felt a strong desire to see this mission through till the end. As I said before, there's a constant state of dread in every level. You aren't part of the heroic American army saving the day with rock music and freedom as your ally. The war is already over, and the fact that it hasn't been kind to its losers is made evident in the world, but most importantly, its characters. It's always such a great feeling when a game truly surprises you with its quality. In the age of annualized sequels, we know that titles like Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, or Battlefield are for the most part going to be worth the $60 it costs to play them, but aren't games you remember down the line. Publisher Bethesda took a gamble betting on MachineGames to bring new life into the series, but wow did it pay off. Wolfenstein: The New Order is one of the best games of 2014, probably the best, and does not just so much right and so little wrong, but does it all so much better than anything else in its class. Finally, a game that's as much fun to play as it is to contemplate.
Not me. I'm here to see an old friend and settle a score. Turn this thing around.